to bring anywhere from 20 to 25 children every time they rolled in here on that 15-passenger van. So there was a need. And then I will never forget, we were sitting in church, Amy was sitting beside me, and the preacher announced that him and Miss Jane were praying for a couple to take another bus because something had to be done. At the time, we didn't have car seats or anything. So you imagine 30 kids piled up in that van, coming to church, each and every week. It was a blessing, but it's also potential for disaster. So almost a year to the day after the preacher announced they were praying for a couple to take a bus route, I'm going to tell you exactly, she's sitting here, she'll tell you the truth. And Mama's sitting here, and Mama knows her too. That night that he announced they're praying about a couple to take a bus, another route, I felt a little nudge from God. And then I looked over at my beautiful wife. Ain't no way, Lord. Ain't no way we can do it. She is a great mother to our kids, but she has no patience whatsoever for other children. And Mama knows this. She knew this too. I said, Lord, thanks for asking, but there's no way she's going to do this. Fast forward about a year later, we were sitting over at a lady's house visiting somebody, and it came up. We was over there. Miss Brenda was over there. We were visiting, and it came up, and God had been working on me this whole time. And I've been saying, Lord, go talk to her because, I'm on board, but you need to talk to her. And so we were sitting there talking, and it was just, she looked at me and she said, we got to take that bus. Little did I know, God had been working on her the whole time too. Amen. So that's how God works. So we told the preacher, we'll do it. So me and preacher and Bro Mike went down and looked at the bus and picked it out, brought it back for church, and we bought the bus. That's why the bus is here. When we first started running that bus, we split the route that Johnny and Brenda had made, and they were coming in still carrying anywhere from 15 to 18 kids on the van, and that bus will hold 21, and I had 21 to 22 people on the bus. Every Sunday morning, we ran that bus Sunday night, and we ran it on Wednesday nights. And it was a blessing to see that many kids coming into the church and getting under the sound of the gospel. It was work. Trust me, there were some Sundays, me and they would have to leave the house at 7:30 Sunday morning to make the route to be here on time. And then when we got them home, we had enough time to get home and clean up the bus a little bit, eat a little lunch, and then we turned and start running the route again. That's the way Johnny and Brenda did it too. That's the way it was done. But God blessed us. The preacher's been preaching about getting your joy back. I remember having joy. I was exhausted, but I remember having the joy and the satisfaction of doing something good for God and reaping the benefits of it. A lot of those kids come to know the Lord through that bus ministry. So, back to this. I said all that to say this. You see the bus and van sitting out there now. I think last Sunday, one kid was picked up on the van, and the bus didn't move. And God, I think, was asking me, just like the children of Israel, they got comfortable at where they were at the time. It was asking me, are you comfortable where you're at? Or have you dwelt long enough in this mount? Because see, to me, I didn't miss a beat. Miss Suzanne won't go on, or if she was going, it's just one person. It takes no time. Not a problem in the world. I got comfortable with just that one person on the bus. And that upset me, especially after the preacher has taught so many times about how we need to get back to work and get this bus and this van going. So I think through this, God was telling me, you've dwelt too long in this mount of comfort. It's time to get moving. It's good where you're at, but I got something better planned. So I said, okay, that one's for me. I can't point a finger at nobody else. That one's for me. Now, if we're honest with ourselves, there's probably something in each one of our lives that God is telling us we've dwelt too long there, just like he did them. So the next thing that he showed me in this, he asked me a question, have we become complacent? How many people know the name Margaret Sanger? Anybody? Brother Chris knows. You'll know who she is here in just a minute. We're talking about becoming complacent. Let's think about back in the late 70s, early 80s. There was a woman on a mission, and she put everything she had into this mission to eradicate prayer from schools. Her name was Margaret Sanger. She did, one lady, worked as hard as she could, and going to the Supreme Court, going anywhere she could to have prayer removed from schools because she didn't believe in God. She was an atheist and didn't want it in schools. And the whole time, the good Christians were sitting back going, this is America. We're a Christian nation. Ain't no way one woman is going to take prayer away from all us. It ain't going to happen. I wouldn't even worry about it. It's never going to happen. Have we become complacent? We know the story. She won. She was willing to do whatever it took to get it done while the Christian sat on a pew and did nothing. All right. Complacency. I think about complacency. I think about 18 years ago today. We all know what happened 18 years ago today. We were attacked. And I've spent most of the afternoon watching documentaries and stuff on it. It's heartbreaking. But what I learned after that was there was warning signs going up the whole time before this happened. There was warning signs, there was little hints, there was things going on left and right all across the nation. In the government, they were saying, something's going on, something's fixing to happen. But what we did learn was some of the White House officials left out some of this stuff out of the daily briefings to the president because they said, no, they're talking about an attack on the American homeland. It's never happened. It's never going to happen. We know Pearl Harbor got attacked, but that's Hawaii. That's not the mainland. Nobody's crazy enough to make an attack on American homeland, on home soil. And then we know what happened. Our government at the time had become complacent. They were saying, nothing like that's ever happened. We've had some bombings, some terrible things happen here, but nobody is attacked to the tune of killing 3,000 people using, we know, airplanes or any other kind of weapon. So the government got complacent. They said, it's never going to happen. We'll keep our eyes open, but we're not going to raise no big alerts. We're not going to disturb everybody. And then after it happened, we see now the results of what happened after that is, how long it takes to get through an airport now, and all the security and all the stuff. There's a lot of good stuff that came out of it to make us safer, but still, with all the warning flags going up, they should have known something was going on. So have we become complacent? Do we have our heads stuck in the sand now? We look at thousands. I read something on Facebook today that said, no one died from gun violence today, but over 1,000 kids were aborted. And that's every day in America. And it's become, sometimes you get desensitized. You hear something long enough, it starts to not bother you as bad anymore. And that's a problem for the Christian. That should be a big problem for the Christian. We have sat back long enough and allowed this stuff to happen and allowed our voices to be suppressed. I know the liberals out there today, all they have to do is call us racist or homophobes or this, that, and other, and that usually backs everybody down. They go, no, that's not me. That's not me, and they back away. But we can't fall for that stuff anymore. Is God telling us that we've dwelt long enough in the mount of complacency? We've been here long enough. It's time to get moving. He's got something better in store for us. So, the next thing he asked me was, have we become content? Now, I look around this place tonight, and like the preacher says, every time he gets up here on a Wednesday night or Sunday night, we've got a great crowd in here for Wednesday night. But there's a whole lot of empty pews, a bunch of them. I mean, there's a lot more empty pews than there is people sitting in the pews. And the pastor said the other night, sometimes you feel like that's the norm. You're just happy with what you got. Are we becoming content with what we got? We've got a nice church. We've got great people in here. I love every one of you guys. Except, there might be one or two, but James ain't here. So I can't really get on him tonight. He didn't show up. But are we becoming content with just us? I've heard the preacher say several times, every now and then you get tired of preaching to the same faces every week. We want to see somebody new. So how are we going to see new people? I mean, there's a lot of times that people have come in off the street and just said, I saw all the cars in the parking lot. And that's how Danny Powell and them started coming here. Danny said he'd ride by here on Sunday mornings and go, what is going on at that place? It is packed. So he stopped in. But the best way to get people in here is for us to go out and get them. Jesus told us, go by the hedges and the highways and compel them to come in. Hog time. We're not going to do that. But we've become content with what we got. Just, Chris is my buddy. I don't need another buddy over here. So I ain't going to invite nobody else. We've become happy with everything we got. That's not true. You are. So is Michael. Everybody else in here is my buddy too. But Chris did get on me Sunday night. He said, I thought you was my friend. He said, you didn't bother to tell me you was speaking on Wednesday. And I told him, I said, well, I didn't think it was that important. And he said, man, anytime you get behind that pulpit, it's important. I said, you're exactly right. I misspoke. I didn't think I was that important, that I'd be announced. But we have become content. You look around, are you staying here tonight? Because Jeff voices, and we've always had a great group of youth. But I'm looking around, where are they at? I see. We got the Martins, because I know their parents, and they're going to be here whether they want to or not. And they're right. Ariel, glad you're here. But we used to run in our youth program, 25, 30 youth every Wednesday night. Where are they at? What are we doing to get them back? Are we content with what we got? Are we content with just the youth we have here? Or should we be getting out there and getting more for God? We have become content with a lot of things in life, and it's not good when it comes to the ministry. We're not going out witnessing. There was a time just a few years ago that we had Saturday visitations. Was it once or twice a month? We'd all meet here at the church. We'd pray, and we'd get a plan together, who's going where and who's going with who, and we'd go out and knock doors. And that was 1 or 2 Saturdays a month. I think it was every other Saturday we were doing that. And I know what happened a lot was when we started this building project, that took up our Saturdays. We were busy. We were doing good things for the Lord. But now I think he's saying, okay, it's time to get past that. You've dwelt long enough on that. It's time to get moving. I've got something better planned for you. And he does. There's people out there that are lost and dying and going to hell that we come across each and every day. And if we become content with just what we got, we'll never reach out to them. But we need to get them in the church. We need to fill these empty pews, not just to say that we got a church full of people. It's just we got the best pastor that I know of. That can give the gospel just as good, or if not better, than any other preacher I've ever heard. And the people need to hear the gospel. And the only way we'll get them is if we quit being content and start bringing people in here. Our outreach. What's our outreach here at the church? Brother Mike does the nursing home ministry first Sunday of every month. How many of us have actually went to the nursing home with Brother Mike, Miss Jane, and them to help sing? You ain't got to raise your hand. But that's another thing I'm saying. That's first Sunday of every month. It's a great ministry. I used to go every time I could. The bus keeps me from doing it every time I want to go. But every chance I get, I do go back out there. We used to go every first Sunday. We'd sing. And what a joy. It's 4 or 5 people. But the joy on their faces when they see us come in, they love to hear our people sing. They love to hear Miss Jane Taft and Miss Terry Lynn and all of them sing. They love hearing that. That's a great outreach for this church. So we need a little help with that. I know Brother Mike would appreciate some more help out there on Sundays to do that. We're going to start back, as far as I know. We all know summertime's a busy time. We're going into the fall, and it's around here, it's busy too. We've got a lot of stuff going on this fall. But there's going to come a time where the preacher's going to step back over and say, okay, it's time to go visiting again. Or are we going to have the help to fill that bus and van back up? Because I know me and Amy talked about this the other day. She was even feeling bad about it because when we promised God we'd take that bus, we promised we'd go help try to get people, go get the people and bring them in. And we failed in that aspect. And we could use some help too. Going out and trying to get them, fill that bus back up, fill that van back up, fill this church up. But we've become content with just what we got now. And I'm guilty. And I know if you look down in yourself, you know, it's a lot of work to do these kind of things. And it's a whole lot easier to come here every Sunday and just do what God has us do, what the preachers asked us to do. Trust me, you know, I come in here 8 o'clock Sunday morning and turn everything on. 8:30, I'm on the bus to go get Miss Duzanne. I'm back, we'll drop her off. I teach Sunday school, help run the sound equipment, but I've become too comfortable with that. I know God's got something better for me. Don't know what it is yet, but if I just sit back there all the time and do what I'm doing every single Sunday, I'll never know. We need to get out of our comfort zone, just like he was telling them, the Israelites, you got too comfortable here, it's time to move. I think God's telling us the same thing. So tonight, my question to you is God telling you you've dwelt too long or dwelt long enough in the mountain of comfort? Are you just too comfortable? Are you just comfortable with where you're at? Are you happy with what's going on? Are you too complicit? Are we too apt to sit back and just let things happen, go with the flow, not stick our neck out too far? We don't like nobody jumping on us or criticizing us, but if we're not willing to stick our neck out for the Lord, then things are going to keep happening. They already took prayers out of school. They legalized abortion. They legalized gay marriage. And they will legalize everything that God stands against if we don't do something about it. If we sit back and do nothing, then it's going to happen. I think about the end times. The Bible, God predicts all these bad things are going to happen. I think it's all in his plan. But he doesn't want us to sit there with our heads in the sand and just let all this happen. He's got something better for us. And so are you content tonight? Have you been dwelling too long in that mount of content? God promised the Israelites, in verse 8 he said, behold, I have set the land before you. Go in and possess the land which the Lord sware to your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to give unto them and their seed after them. God's made some promises to us too. We're in a good place here at this church. I love this church. I love the people. I love the pastor. I love the building. And it's good. Amen. But God's got something better planned for us. And we got to be prepared to do whatever it takes. The first step is to get along with God and see what he's telling you, where he's telling you you've been dwelling too long, and where he wants you to go. And then the next step is you got to be willing to do it. Whatever he tells you to do, you got to be willing to do it. If he doesn't have a willing vessel, it'll never work. We'll be still sitting here 10 years from now, same people, more or less. You know, some of us might be going home to be with the Lord by then, but nothing new is going to change here at New Life. Nothing's going to get better. The joy that the preacher's been preaching about every Wednesday night, the revivals he's talking about, is never going to happen as long as we are comfortable with where we're at, as long as we're complacent to all the junk that's going on around us, and as long as we're content with just the status quo. We've got to get going. God tells them in verse 7, turn ye. And we need to be turned. We need to start turning and take our journey to where God wants us to go. Staying here in this place, doing the same thing each and every week, is not. The Pharisees and they were steeped in traditions and stuck on tradition. And if we're not careful doing the same thing we do each and every week, each and every Sunday, each and every Wednesday, we'll get stuck in that mold of tradition too, and we'll see nothing done for the Lord. So tonight, I just ask you to ask yourself, God, where have I been dwelling too long? What would you have me to do next? And just be willing to have that done. So I promise you we'll get done early. I don't know what time it is because I took a tip from Chris. He said, last time I didn't even look at my watch. When I got done, I told him to stand up and we prayed. So everybody would, if you would stand, we'll pray and be dismissed. Thank y'all for being attentive. And I hope it helped you as much as it helped me God showed me a lot, but and we'll get back to it. So, Brother Chris, if you don't mind, my buddy, would you dismiss us in prayer?